In Snowflake, we first want to have a look at the data that we are working with so that we are all on the same level regarding our understanding of so-called JSON files. So because this is something that we will be working with first, and therefore we want to understand the JSON files and what are the challenges when we want to load JSON data into Snowflake. So first of all, what is a JSON file? A JSON file is essentially just a text file in a specific format, and this format allows us so that this is readable for both humans and also machines. Often this is created by devices automatically, and they just provide the data in this text format. So a JSON document is structured in a specific way, and we want to see how this works. So one object in a so-called JSON document, so this is our entire file, is enclosed in those curly brackets. So this is one object. In our case, it is a person. And then we can have multiple attributes in one object. So you can see we have the attribute name, which has the value John. And then the age is a second attribute. And each of those attributes are also separated by this comma. So you can see this is just a very simple structure, and we could have multiple additional attributes. For example, we can have the city, and then this can have again another value. For example, this could be New York. So like this, we can have multiple attributes in one object. And additionally, we can also have multiple objects. So we can have multiple values in our document. This means, for example, like this, we have one object, and then this object is again separated by a comma with the next object. And like this, we can see that we have now 3 objects in this JSON document, and they all have 2 attributes. So in this case, it would be relatively simple because we have 3 people, so we can make 3 rows in our table, and we can have 2 columns, first name and last name. So like this, translating this into a structured table where we have fixed number of columns and rows, this would be relatively simple. But now it can get more complex. So here we can have now so-called nested values. So this data can be nested, and also we can have arrays. So this is something that we want to have a look at and see how we can deal with this. Because here you can see, first of all, we have more attributes, which this works. This is not a problem. But now, what happens if we have something like this? So this is an array. This means that this attribute, previous company, can take multiple values. So we have multiple values. So here an array is always enclosed with these brackets, and here we can have now multiple values. So they are different values that are now part of this previous company attribute. So you can see this is something that we might want to deal with so that we can maybe choose these values. So we want to see maybe the first previous company or the second previous company, and how we can deal with this in a structured table. We also want to have a look at how this can be done in the next lectures. Additionally, we can also have the nested objects. So in this case, the job attribute is a nested object with the title and also the salary. So this is something that is, of course, a job can have a salary and then a title. So you can see that here we have multiple attributes that are nested in this job attribute. So this is something we also need to deal with this. And then also we can have, of course, a combination of these arrays, which is this one, and the nested objects in here. So with the spoken languages, for example, we have 2 values. So this person speaks 2 languages. Language 1 and then also language 2. And now each of those elements are again nested. This means we have the spoken language, which consists of what is actually the language name, and then also the level that this language is spoken with. So you can see that JSON structures are different from our tables. So this is more flexible and can be more dynamic. And therefore, we need to be able to handle the arrays, the nested objects, and also a combination of both. And this is exactly what we want to solve in the next lectures. So here we have this overview that now should help us to understand the structure of the JSON data that we will be working with. And don't worry, we will handle this JSON data step by step and learn how we can work with this easily in Snowflake. So let's get started with this in the next lecture. And of course, step number 1 is, as we have mentioned, we want to establish the connection to the data where this is located. And in our case, this will be the data. So here, step number 1, we create our stage. We load the data then as it is in this raw format into this variant column. So that's what we